Hi everyone, thank you for joining our May webinar, 10 Ways to Earn More Business with RPR. We are so happy to have Carrie O'Neill hosting today's webinar for us. Allison James Estates and Homes is a nationwide brokerage which offers 100% commission and 100% support. Why split your commission if you don't need to? You earned it all, so shouldn't you keep it all? Our goal at Allison James is to always give back to our agents by providing education, training sessions, live webinars, live events, and full broker support with the most up-to-date tools and technology available. We are always looking for new tools and ways to be able to provide them to our agents at a lower or discounted price, so you can keep your hard-earned money for the important things in life and the people that you love. Allison James Estates and Homes is a nationwide brokerage which offers 100% commission and 100% support. Here are a few of the free marketing tools we are extremely proud to now be able to offer to our agents. Property marketing, including unlimited property websites and digital listing presentations, unlimited personal websites with IDX feeds, and lead generation tools, including lead capture squeeze pages, CRM, and task management systems, with plans starting at just as low as $35 a month. We have plans that cater to agents of all levels of production. As Allison James continues to grow, we will be providing more of these free tools to help you grow your business. Thank you to all the outside agents today who have joined us. We feel that training should be free, and we welcome you to join any of our upcoming webinars or live events. With that being said, I would like to now pass it over to Shelley Hoyseth, Senior Loan Officer with our preferred lender, Movement Mortgage. Good morning, Shelley.
Good morning. Good morning, Allison James and agents across the country. I wanted to talk a little bit today about appraisals. I get a lot of questions about them, especially when appraisals come in low from other lenders or various different things. So I thought I'd just provide a few little tips about that. According to TRID, in order to be able to order an appraisal, just so you know, there is a form called an intent to proceed that must be signed. And with a VA loan, you must also have the FHA VA amendatory clause signed. It typically takes us about 48 hours because we do everything electronically to disclose the file once we get a contract and the borrower to send it back, and then we order the appraisal. So we're not really losing too much time in that regard. As far as the FHA VA amendatory clause goes, I know here in California that is part of the contract here. So if it is where you are as well, or you have access to it, it's a great idea to have your seller and the agents and everybody sign it when you get the contract fully executed, because that can cause a small delay if everybody's waiting for that to get executed when it's time to order the appraisal. And you don't have to worry about being scared of that amendatory clause. I know it says in there that the borrower cannot be forced to move forward if the appraisal doesn't come in, but the contract does trump that amendment. So if a VA buyer or an FHA buyer does want to remove their appraisal contingency and make that part of the contract, then that would supersede the amendatory clause. So just so that you know about that. And Movement Mortgage standard turn times for appraisals is about 5 business days. The VA requires that they are given 10 business days for a VA appraisal. So you do want to get that in and get that ordered as soon as possible. When an appraisal comes in low, and oftentimes when we're in a market that we're in right now where values are starting to increase and sometimes the comps haven't caught up with the market, here we're having multiple offers and buyers are clamoring to get in there, and sometimes that makes the appraisal come in low because there just aren't quite comps. One example that we just had, I had done some cross-qualifying with one of our Allison James agents. She had 12 offers, I think, on a property, all of them above the list price. I pre-approved 3 or 4. One of them actually, the one with the highest bid, chose to go with a bank, and the bank's appraisal actually came in $70,000 low. So all of a sudden, yikes, that buyer had removed their appraisal contingency to get into contract, and here they were stuck with $70,000, which they were not anticipating happening. So because they were conventional buyers, I took over the loan and we ordered a new appraisal, and the appraisal came in at value. So don't be afraid if if the appraisal comes in really low to just think, oh no, that's the value. That's not necessarily the case. I mean, every once in a while you get some crazy appraiser that maybe isn't real familiar with the area in a particular situation. So look for options. Your options if your appraisal comes in low for conventional is you can appeal it. At Movement Mortgage, we are very open to appeals. That typically means that the agent is going to provide additional comps and provide their opinion of value. Not all lenders really are good about appeals or really allow you that process, but we do. The other option would be to switch the buyer to another lender. With conventional, you do have to order a new appraisal. So if you have an instance where somebody's moving lenders and the appraisal was fine, they can't take that appraisal with them. And with conventional, you do have to order a new appraisal because each lender has to use their appraisal management company. So that's for conventional. With VA, you may have gotten something called the Tidewater Act, and that's where you get a strange email that comes over and says Tidewater is being implemented. That means the appraiser's giving you a heads up that they're having a hard time getting value. So if you get that, don't panic. It's actually a good thing. That means that rather than the VA just stamping that value on there and saying, too bad, so sad, they're giving the agents an opportunity to say, hey, here's the comps we see, here's why we say the value is there. And there's usually a time frame on that. So if you get a Tidewater email, make sure you respond right away and get those comps in to support your value. With an FHA appraisal, the appraisal goes with the property. So if they switch lenders, they have to transfer the appraisal. And you really can't take another FHA buyer if you had a low appraisal. You're going to need to find alternate financing or renegotiate the purchase price. So that's kind of my 2 bits. If you have any questions about that, or you've experienced some issues and you just want to run it past me, shoot me an email. It's right here on the screen, and I'm happy to go over any particular scenarios with you. Okay? I'm going to pass it off to Carrie at RPR now.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hi, my name is Carrie, and I'm with RPR, and I'm going to handle the rest of your meeting today. And we're going to be looking at the RPR top 10 ways to earn more business than your competition. Guys, the first slide up here is just going to show you how you can ask me questions or communicate with me in any way. Just let me know. Go ahead and type in your question and send it on over. So there is just one of me today, so if I don't get to your question right away, I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. But have no fear, I'll answer all of your questions before the end of the webinar. And thank you for joining us. I do appreciate it. This is a great class to run through because it shows a lot of really key tools that RPR has to offer. And so we're going to go through the top 10. I'm not as funny as Letterman, but we'll try to see what we can do with this. So a couple of the slides to open up here. What is RPR? RPR is NAR's wholly owned subsidiary corporation. We are a national platform of parcel-centric property information, now housing over 170 million different U.S. properties. Everything that RPR has to offer is exclusive to Realtor members of NAR. So we have our online application, which is of course what we're going to be looking at today. We have a tablet app that was launched in the beginning of 2016, and we have a super killer mobile app that came out in the beginning of 2015. So anything related to RPR is going to be free to all of the realtors on board here. I'm teaching you guys from Minnesota. I pay my dues here. Everybody pays their dues across the country, and RPR is considered to be a dues-funded member benefit. So with all of that being said, there is no consumer side or public-facing side of RPR. We are designed for realtors to do your research, to go in and use our pricing tools, and then to expedite information out to your clients. So all of the reports that we're going to look at today are going to go out to clients in more of a PDF fashion, and we'll be able to take a look at those, and you'll see how they print out and how they would look when your clients open them up. So RPR is not an MLS. We are designed to partner with your MLSs, okay? We are not a consumer-facing business model. We're not a listing syndicator or redistributor. And as we just touched on, we are not available to anybody other than Realtor members of the National Association of Realtors. Now, I know that we were just talking about appraisals a minute ago, so if we do have any appraisers out there as well that do have an active NERDS number, they certainly can be in RPR. The active NERDS number is kind of the what you need to have in order to access it. So last here of the slides, we're going to briefly touch on the pricing models that RPR is using so that we have a better understanding of these top 10 aspects that we're going to look at. First pricing model here is called an AVM. Now guys, an AVM stands for Automated Valuation Model. An automated valuation model is a value for property or land that is derived from tax records only, okay, or publicly held data only. So a couple key things to know about these AVMs. Number one, we see them everywhere. RPR does have one, but so does Zillow, and so does Trulia, and so does Yahoo, and Google, and Wells Fargo, and Chase Bank, and AOL, and so on, and so on, and so on. There are a couple main reasons why you can go website to website and see different values for the same property. Even though everybody who's using an AVM model is using the same tax records, there is no proprietary or single formula, I should say, for an AVM. Each entity or business that is giving you an AVM value has their own formula and how that's calculated. Okay, so hopefully that made more sense that way. The second thing to know about these AVMs is that they are calculating a tax value. It's by design. The only information going into the formula is tax information. So therefore the only thing coming out of it is a tax value. This can be very confusing to a lot of our clients who are out there, they're doing their own research, and they think that they're looking at either a list price or projected sale prices, when indeed, if they're looking at an AVM, it just happens to be a tax value for that area. Okay, now let me know if you have any questions on these two guys. Formula number 2 here, the RVM, which I lovingly call kind of the Mac Daddy of all pricing models. The RVM stands for Realtor Valuation Model. This model was developed and is owned and trademarked by our National Association of Realtors. The only place that you all are going to see the RVM is in RPR. This formula is going to take all of that public information, so all of those tax records, all of those municipal records, and it's going to combine it with the MLS data of your area. Those two entities are going to work together in order to build a projected sales price for you. We're going to be using trending information coming off the MLS, listing inventory, sales inventory, percentage increases and decreases month to month and year to date, and many, many, many more. When you're working in the RVM model, guys, you're going to see over 134 different data points that goes into one property. Also, through research of NAR, they have found that if you're working in this RVM model, you should be within 10% of your final sales price over 95% of the time. And when we open up the online portion here in like 2 seconds. I'll show you how you know if you're working with an AVM or an RVM model, and we'll look at a couple tools that go along with that. So the first of our top 10 is using RPR to determine a seller's motivation. We have a really great grid that's here on this slide, but it's called the sales and financing activity, and I'm going to show you where that's located. Okay, we're going to go to the home page. Okay, so this is our RPR homepage. And I'm going to pull a property here that I was looking at earlier to prepare for our class today. And I'm going to show you where the sales, excuse me, the sales and financing activity grid is located. Okay, so when we open up a property, guys, even commercial, you're going to open up onto a summary page, and the summary is going to be noted here up in the corner. We also, in the residential section, are going to offer you history, charts, refined value, comp analysis, and neighborhood. Now, determining a motivation can be fairly easy, or you need to look at a little bit of the history, and so that's where we're going to go to find the sales and financing activity grid. Okay, so this is the first grid that we're going to see. I also call this grid kind of a day in the life of my sellers, because what it's going to do is just go month by month across the bottom, just the last couple years, and show you all of the activity that has been recorded for the property. You can see here that we've got the RVM tracker, and we can hover over any part of this grid and get more information. We have assessor market values. We have distressed information here, unfortunately. There's a notice of sale and another notice of sale. We also are going to be able to track listing activity and financing activity here as well. So if we hover over this yellow dot, we're going to see that the home went pended, or pending, depending on what you say, in the beginning of May at $315. Okay, that was the list price. And so we can come in here and take a look at a lot of past listing activity as well. You know, you can see, are things tracking downward or upward? And it's a really great way to get everybody on the same page before we start our crazy transaction. This grid automatically prints in a lot of our seller reports, and I will show you that too once we pull our CMA and we look at that report. You'll see the sales and financing activity grid within that report. Number 2, we are going to go and look at how to evaluate home improvements. Now, we're going to be using the same house for a lot of our class today, so we can see how all of these tools kind of flow together and give us a better idea of what we can do in RPR. So, in order to work with home improvements, we have to go to refined value. Now, refined value is probably one of my favorite places to hang out in RPR. It's pretty fun. For you 3 separate tools in order to work with the AVM or the RVM and modify or change that value. So you'll see here, guys, that we have a starting RVM on this property of $354,470. I made some changes here, and I was just playing around, so I'm going to get rid of those and we're going to start over, but then you'll see how all of our work on this page will be calculated here. Okay, so home improvements is the second tool here, and I did do a couple, of course, to prepare, but I'm going to erase those and we're going to start over and we're going to do a few of these together. So the first one that I have here is I put on a upscale composite deck addition. It was completed in May of 2015 for the approximate cost of $5,500. It's now worth approximately $2,696 in the value of the home. Now, a couple disclaimers about this stuff. All of this information on this page is about as zip code specific as we can get it. Okay? It's all coming to us from a company called Hanley Wood. They are a national modeling aggregate. They go around the country and literally at the zip code level are figuring out material rates, labor rates, time of usage, a lot of times for outdoor amenities and things that are put on, depreciation rates, of course, and they're figuring out what home improvements should be valued at over time. Okay, so let's do one of these together and we'll see how this works. We have a drop-down menu. There's both interior and exterior home improvements here. And one of these as well has an upscale and a mid-range. Okay, when we make our selection, like let's do a home office remodel, why not? And you'll see here, everybody, that when I make my selection, I'm going to get a paragraph that's going to explain to me what makes this mid-range or upscale. This is going to help agents decide what best fits what the home improvement was or what the clients even want to do. Okay? And this is just for my knowledge. This won't print in my report. Now, I need the date that my clients are telling me they completed their home office remodel. Let's go with March. How about 2015? And now what did they spend on it? So what are they telling me that the cost was of this home improvement? We'll say it was, $2,700. And we'll click Add. We can see here, guys, by doing a home office remodel mid-range, completed in March of 2015 for $2,700, it's worth approximately $964. Okay, let's do another one. What do we do when we have clients that are doing a little bit more obscure updating, or we simply can't find something that fits in the list? We go down to the bottom and select Other. When I select Other, this little box here is going to pop up and I'm going to be able to type in any home improvement that I would like. And guys, when I say anything, it really can be anything. Anything that you want to give your clients credit for. You know, I'm going to use carpet here for our example today, but I've seen interior paint, I've seen, you know, plantation shutters, I've seen an air-conditioned dog house, I've seen a paver driveway. I mean, you name it, and you can put it in here. This works a little bit differently than the other one that we did. So we'll need the date. And let's say our clients just put in carpet now so that they can list their home and get it out and be more competitive. They might tell me, Carrie, I spent $1,500 on carpet for the bedrooms. And I'll tell them, okay, guys, it needed to be done because, you know, we had some things we had to improve on. This is going to help us in other ways. However, a huge monetary return on carpet alone usually doesn't happen. I know that we spent $1,500 on carpet. We'll get that back, but I'm comfortable bumping us $600 for the value of the carpet now and the value and impact on our list price. Okay? Now, using this other area here, it just takes a little due diligence, guys. You can ask home improvement specialists. You can ask lenders, appraisers. Lots and lots of different folks are going to have ideas on how to evaluate some of these smaller home improvements. Ooh, Elizabeth, good question. Do we have a section for solar? And no, I don't believe we do. My dad lives in Arizona, and I know that solar in those parts of the country are huge. I don't think we do. Let me look here super quickly. I have a sunroom, but no solar. I'm going to write that down, though, because that's excellent. What I would do with that, Miss Elizabeth, is I would use Other, and I would put in the solar panels. because I know that there's a lot that goes into those too as well, like the savings, you know, every month versus the lease price for those monthly and that kind of stuff. But if you wanted to add that in, I definitely would just use the other and type in, you know, solar panels or solar whatever. But super good question. I haven't had that one before. Okay, so guys, that's home improvements. And we are going to see this section again in our seller's report when we pull our CMA. So our home improvements will be there. Okay, we're going to go into the comp analysis portion, and I'm going to show you all how you can pull a simple CMA. Then we're going to move into what's called the valuation workbook, and that's the more complicated one. So we're going to do them back to back. Okay, so we are going to go into comp analysis, which is the next tab over for the property that we're working with. And generally, guys, just so you understand more about the flow, I would go through and do these 3 tools, and then I have my house, the one I'm working with, refined exactly the way I want it, and then I pull my CMA. And I did do that prior, so we'll see how this comes out for us now. Okay, so the first CMA that we're going to look at, guys, we have 2, is the comparative analysis. This is the one that you will use most often. Okay, I'm going like 90% of the time. It is a very comprehensive report. Depending on how many pages you include, how many comps you pull, you can be running 75 to 85 pages of information when this thing is all said and done. I, of course, am going to show you how to pare that down in our next step. So hang with me. Number 1 for our CMA, we need to confirm the home facts. So we hit edit there to open. And you see here that I have 3 columns. I have public records, which are the tax records for this property. This property is currently listed, so I wanted to show you how that would pop up. But we've got listing data here. You know, if it is your hope to go out and list a property, obviously this middle column here won't show. You'll have public record, and then you'll have the area here for your changes. You can go through and modify any of these areas, or if you like the way that the home is being recorded to you, you simply just confirm and close. Oh, Phil, good question, and I should have just popped this up beforehand. Mr. Phil is asking us, can you adjust for discrepancies in square footage totals that appear in public records? Yes. Let me go back to that 1 second. The confirm home facts. We'll edit to open that again. And here, Phil, I do have a discrepancy here that living area is showing me that above ground square footage is 1,500. Well, I've got a pretty big discrepancy here of 2,925. I know, because I know this property, that this is upper and lower combined. So I very easily could come in here and do this and then go to basement, and I think it's like, what, 845, 825, something like that. We'll do that. And I can separate those out, and that'll help me with the discrepancy. Absolutely. Let's confirm and close that one. Also, Phil, in a second here for step number 3, I'm going to show you how you can make adjustments based on the comparables that you're selecting and the comparables that you're moving forward with. Okay? Let me go back and fix that for a second here. I'm going to get rid of this. Okay. There we go. Okay. So number 2, edit to open. And here we have a map, guys. We're going to look at the map. The little yellow guy in the middle is us. This is the house that we are. The black icons here are the homes that I selected last time in my CMA. So I'm going to go over to the side where I'm going to select single family residence. I want, of course, all property status. My date range within the last 6 months is my default. Of course, I do have a drop down. And now I have the details or the parameters in which I want to search by. So we're going to go 3 to 5 for beds. We're going to go 2 to 4 for bathrooms. And I'm going to drop this down a little bit. Now everybody's going to see here that I'm not selecting lot size, price range, price per square foot, or year built. If those are priorities for whatever search you're doing, simply just check and then fill out the information. I'm going to hit search. Okay, here we go. We have little yellow guy, us, in the middle. And I have a nice sample here around, Mud Lake is very small. Actually, the map's kind of blown out, so this looks bigger. But I have a nice sample around. I also here have what I call on the map just some dead space. Because I live out here, guys, I know that this is mostly farmland over here, a little bit of wetlands, not a ton of housing. So what I'm going to do is drag my map. See, I have a little bit more of the development here that I can look at. I've got some more area over here. Basically, I've changed my view. I've changed the map view. So I want to search again and see if I can pick up any more comparables. So we're going to modify. Same information here for our search. And search again. And we got a few more. So that's a really nice way that we can control the map and use, relevant comps and proximity and that kind of thing to help us out in this search. Now, I've got 19 sold properties here that I can look for that fit what I was searching. It's also being used by RPR in order to generate that original RVM number that we were looking at. Now, I can move forward out of this view with as many comps as I want. Clicking them is as easy as checking and unchecking. When I am happy with the amount of comps that I've pulled, I'm happy with my range that's starting to appear at the top, I simply can update and close. This is going to take me out now to step number 3, and Phil, this will help you with one of your questions as well. Step number 3 is called Make Adjustments, probably one of my favorite steps in this whole process. We'll edit to open. And I'm going to quickly reset here. Okay. Now, this is how our comparables print out. Okay? Everything is side by side across the page. It is highly organized. I'm not flipping back and forth between 15 different sheets of paper when I'm trying to present my comparables to my clients. It's very easy for me to talk about similarities and differences and pricing and that kind of information. Also, if I'm working on laptops and tablets and that kind of stuff, and I'm doing this live with my clients, I also can show photos of these properties all side by side. Please note, though, that whatever photo you leave in this view is the photo that will print. I also can go down below the photos here and use these blue dots. Now, the blue dots are located throughout the entire website. These are called information icons. When you hover over them, you're going to get all of your MLS information here regarding that transaction. So you can talk to your clients about price changes that were made, days on market, how long did it take these folks to get these results, and find out kind of what your clients are willing to go through. How competitive do we need to be to avoid some of the mess? And we can look at that real time as well. Now, with the comparables that we moved forward with, we have a comp-based estimated value of $316,147. I also have my conditional sliders here, and these are going to allow me, the agent, the expert, to move these back and forth and adjust for differences in the homes. Okay? Now, if we want to adjust here for square footage, we certainly can. I'm going to make up a few things so you guys can see, how you would use these. I actually have been in some of these homes, but not all of them. So we'll go with comp number one. Comp number one is a pretty good representation of how we might perform. However, comp number one does have more square footage than I do. They do have more bathrooms than I do, and they also have a larger lot. So comp number one is better than my home. When I slide this over to the better side, it is going to adjust me negatively. Comp number one is better, so in theory I shouldn't perform as well. Okay? Comp number two. Comp number two, right down the street from me. It's a good comp. We match on bedrooms. We're very close on square footage. However, comp number two has less garage space than I do. They have less privacy than I do. They're not on a lake view like I have, even though they're down the street, and they're older. So therefore, comp number two is worse. When I go to the worst side, it's going to take me up positively. Okay, let's go to comp number three. Comp number three, kind of the same scenario. They have an over the garage room, like a bonus room, so that's nice. But I have a fully finished basement. They do not. They also don't have a lake view, and I do. And I have a brand new roof, and they don't have that either. So they are worse than me. Last comp number four, one extra half bath over me. Nice curb appeal. They also have the lake view, so we're matching on a lot of that stuff. I will give them credit for their huge ensuite up and $2 a square foot up. We've got our overall adjustment at the bottom of 4403. If we're happy with our work, we simply update and close. Now we're out on step number four. We come to our final CMA price. We're at $325.50. And we've got a range of $259,660 to $363,578. Now, if we want to use our work as a guide, we certainly can do that, and we can change this end result or round these numbers. Simply click Edit. You can plug in your numbers here and hit Save, and those old ones just kind of fade away. Otherwise, you can always revert back to the original. I'm just going to hit Cancel so we can keep moving. Now, with a lot of our reports, especially the CMA versions, it's going to tell you here what report you need. So number 5, we need to get our seller's report. So I will click here, Print. Now, I mentioned earlier that our reports can get rather large. The seller's report and the valuation workbook are two of the largest reports. So we need to make sure that we know how many pages we're dealing with before we email these things out, or we sit down in person, or we, God forbid, we print in color some places and have to pay for all those pages. First thing that we want to do, especially for those of you that are new to the RPR reports, is go to Show Sample. Show Sample is going to give you, of course, a sample of the report. So it's kind of neat to look through the pages. However, at the very bottom, it is going to tell you on average how large this report can be. Okay, so it's saying here, seller's report will be about 75 pages. Well, holy buckets, I do not want to print that many, so I need to do some refinement to my pages. Okay, you will once in a while dish out 75 pages and you'll have clients looking for more. You can always go to a different report and generate some more. But for this one, we're going to take that count down a little bit. We're going to move from Show Sample right over to More Details. And you'll notice that these options are available for every report. more details is going to give us the itemized list of everything that is in the seller's report. It's very, very easy to customize. All you have to do is go through. If you're not understanding what some of these titles are, your information icon, samples of that info. Okay, it is as simple as unchecking the things that you do not want to include. And the neat thing about going through and making these decisions and unchecking and leaving things checked is that it stays that way for you, and you will create a template for every single time you want to print a seller's report. So you only have to do it once. It takes a matter of minutes. You can go down to number 3 and personalize your report should you choose. Number 4, and we select our delivery method. We can display it now if we're doing this stuff in person. Download it, open it up, use it as a PDF, or we can email it out. We click Run, and then we get our report. And guys, no matter how many reports you generate, and no matter how large they are, we will keep them all for you for 30 days. Okay? They're all date and time stamped, so you can see that as well. Here's our report. There's my fancy little mugshot there on the bottom, and all of the information that I'll be getting out of my RPR profile in order to have a nice looking cover page. If anybody doesn't know where your profile is located, send me over a note and I'll be happy to show you that. It's right off the home page, so very easy. Neighborhood view, our high level numbers here. Here we have where public facts would be. Of course, we have the listing facts for this one, but if you're listing, it's not going to be there. But then we would have the area here for your changes. Homeowner information. More of a bird's eye view on where this home is located. Features, school information. Here we have more of those conditional sliders, but these would be the ones that we worked with on refined value, that tab, in order to position the home. Then we have our home improvements list. Some property history and also assessed values, tax assessed values. Here's that day in the life of our sellers grid, or the sales and financing activity, month by month across the bottom. Here we have an example of a heat map, and we're going to work with these in just a moment. This is showing market activity for 55301. We also have a market snapshot here on the bottom. Now we get into a lot of the charts and grids. We have a charts tab for each property, and that's where all of this information is going to be generated from. Please just note, everybody, that whenever you print any chart, graph, or grid in RPR, you're going to get a descriptor paragraph here explaining more about that information. You're going to get a source of the information, and you're also going to get the update frequency, knowing how fresh all of that info is. That will all be here for you. It automatically prints in your reports. So that's kind of nice, especially if you're going to email these. So we're going to fly through these because you guys can take a look at those on the Charts tab. We have our side-by-side view. We have our property descriptions. And then we'll get into, more optional pages, of course, but these are just the one-sheeters for each individual comp. I print them, guys, because they help me answer questions. If I need to do a deeper dive into some of these properties, I can do that. I also really like that I can see the sales price and what the RVM estimate is as well. And so I can get a better idea of how close these are in my community. market activity. Yes, this is for our sellers report, but this portion as well can be extremely helpful in open houses. If you have an open house and you're generating reports, this section is going to show you the immediate market around the house that you're working with, or for the open house example, the house that you're sitting in. You're going to be able to see pending, listed, expired, distressed, pending, distressed, and recently sold. You'll see the high, the low, and the median in each category, as well as days on market. Through your open, and they love the area, but they don't particularly care for the home that you're in, well, here's a list of all of the actives. We can talk to them about pending, especially if they want to make backup. Or if they want to keep an eye on it. So you can give them an idea of really what, settlement prices are here, or, closing prices are. You can give them an idea of that. These are the recently sold properties within the area. The expired. And our last page, everybody's strategy. This typically is the last page that I do print. I know it's kind of hard to decide through all those pages what do you include and what do you not, but this is the last one that I usually go with. It is a full summary of everything that we worked with. It has all of the market categories, meaning, the actives, the pendants, the expireds, the high in that category, the low, and the middle, the median. Also the days on market. We've got all of the tools that we worked with here and our overall CMA price. So we looked at 33 pages on that one, so a ton of information. The next one we're looking at here is the valuation workbook, and we're going to fly through this. There's only a few things that are different from the first CMA that we just pulled. Okay, so from the comp analysis tab, we are going to select sales comparison analysis. This is the second of the CMAs, so I'm going to select that. Now, you guys will see that it's asking me for my state appraisal license because this is really considered to be an appraisal tool. It works very similar to the way a BPO does. However, I do not have an appraisal license. You do not need an appraisal license. Simply either hit Don't Show Again or skip this step, and you can move forward. We will do our search exactly the way that we started the last one. If you are searching for proximity, like within a mile radius or a 2-mile radius or something that's important to you, use this CMA because you will have that option in number 2. Number 3 is where this report gets a little bit more funky compared to the first one. So I'm going to show you here the major difference. Otherwise, you guys will be able to figure this one out. No worries. Make adjustments. We'll edit to open. Now this report, as I mentioned, works very similar to an appraisal tool, and it is very similar to a BPO. So if any of you have experience with BPOs, this will be very easy for you. But this is going to allow you now to go and make your monetary adjustments for the differences. So first thing I did was plug in the seller concessions. So what was paid out for concessions. The next thing I did was look at bedrooms, and we happen to match across the board, so there's no adjustment needed. Then I went to bathrooms, and lo and behold, I was picking some pretty good comps here. We've got 2 across the board as well for full baths. Partial baths, we get into a little bit of a discrepancy. We've got 2 here and 2 here. I only have 1. So therefore, that is a disadvantage for me. That is why these adjustments are negative. When your comps have more of something than you do, it's going to be a negative adjustment for you. Now I went through and I can adjust for square footage as well. We can bust this out above and below, or you can do the total. It is up to you. You simply, guys, and this is a really good question for a lender or anybody who looks at appraisals and BPOs, just find out the price per square foot in your area, you know, do the plus and minus and then times that dollar amount and you will have your adjustments. You can adjust here for lot size as well. I thought that 0.25 and 0.28 were somewhat close to 0.31, so I did adjust here for the middle, but not by much. Here you can adjust for view. So I had a lake view, and it says that here as well, and it was beneficial. And so I could adjust here should I see fit. This first one here, this was beneficial as well. They have a lake view. So we're even, but these two homes just have a neutral neighborhood view, so I made an uptick for myself because I have something they don't have. We can adjust in the CMA for type of property, of course for age. You can also adjust here for amenities, so heating, cooling, energy efficiencies. This might be a really good place for our solar panels. We also can put in, add another row, and I could type in solar here as well. And we could go through and make our adjustments based on the changes or the effect of that. When we get down to the bottom, we've got our new prices here based on our adjustments. We have our net adjustment, our gross adjustment. We also, guys, in this report, because like I said, it's very similar to a BPO, can edit and we can assign a different weight to these properties based on how similar they really are. I've got two properties here on Lake Town, which is the very next street over from the house that I'm working with. Maybe they get more weight because of proximity. You can adjust all of these and then apply and close. When you're happy with all of your work, you update. Now we come out to number 4. It's giving us our CMA price again, $327, $343. We go to number 5. It's our valuation workbook. We hit print. Valuation workbook is already selected for us. With that selection, we can use more details, we can personalize, and we can run. And I'm going to whip through the valuation workbook, guys, because there are a lot of similarities to that first report we looked at, but there are a couple other things too. First page. Aspects of the home that are being looked at here. And there we have our bird's eye view again of the home placement. Here we have property photos. Again, these pages are optional, just depends on what you want to look at. Property history. Here we have our day in the life of our sellers grid or our sales and financing. Here we have a different look at the comps. So we're going with the number of comps we selected, the range, the CMA price. Here we have the placement of our home with our CMA price in relation to where the comps mapped out. We have the historical range of the comparables. And here are the comps for this look. We still have our map. We're going to have a little bit different of a side-by-side view here because we're going to be all of the adjustments as well. So if you have folks that are really focused on things that they've done to their property and what that will get them over other homes, this maybe could be your view. Kind of just because it will show me my overall adjustments here, and we can talk about that. We're going to fly through these. Inventory. It's going to bust out your market with traditional and then distressed properties. And you're going to be able to see how these areas are trending by that yellow, red, and blue arrow. So here's without. In some areas you'll get only distressed. And so you can see how the markets are fluctuating based on the types of properties. Price per square foot. List price versus sale price. Days on market, so you can see how that's tracking in the area. Lots and lots of market statistics here. Very good for those analytical clients. Example of heat maps, which I will be showing you here in just a moment. Estimated value per square foot. And then we get into the market around. So active listings, and that's the end of that report. So 33 pages on that guy too. Jerry, good question. And the answer to Jerry's question, he is asking if we are going to be sharing a video of this, and yes, we are. So have no fear, guys. It's a lot of information to take in, and I am going fairly quickly. I want to get you out of here at a somewhat normal time. But we will be sending out a video of the class, absolutely. Okay, so one of my favorite things to show, searching for distressed properties. I am going to show you all how you can search for off-market distressed properties. Now, the results on this are going to vary depending on the area you work and how your records are recorded. But it is totally worth a shot to figure out if you have access to this information. From the home page, we are going to select all properties. Okay? The goal of this search is to find the folks that have a distressed status that are not on the market. So we don't want for sale. We want all properties. Now we're going to hit advanced over at the edge. When I drop this advanced box here, you can see that I've got a lot I can go through. When I open this normally in show, it's going to ask me, I want to see the traditional folks or the non-distressed. And I want to see active and pending, sure, but not for this search. I only want off-market and I only want distressed. So I'm going to get rid of non and I'm going to get rid of active and pending because that means to me they're on the market already. I want to see all the properties, so all the rest of this is going to be left blank. I go up to my magnifying glass and hit search. Oops, how about we type in our area as well? There we go. Okay, here we go. We have an outline of 55301. I searched by zip code. This zip code is looking rather large to everybody, I'm sure, because it is a rather rural area. You can search by much smaller parameters than this should you choose. But here is my map view. If I click list at the top, I go to my list view, and I was able to pull 36 properties within little rural zip code 55301 that have a distressed status. You can see here they're marked with an off-market tag. You're also going to be able to see what stage they are in, who the homeowners are, and most of them will have an RVM set value for you, or sales price prediction. Some of these too, depending on if you contact them, you will see already if it has been transferred over into banks. So for those of you out there that work with these types of properties or work with investors who go after these types of properties, this is a killer search because you must be cool. Okay, we just did number 5. Number 6, mapping tools. We're going to go back and take a look at our map. Every search that we do, every property we pull up, everything is going to have a map, always located in the same spot. I'm going to hit bigger map. I'm going to show you where a couple things are located here, guys. First things we're going to look at, the drawing tools. They're located up on the top. You can draw any sort of shape you would like in order to hone in on certain areas. There's a box. I can now, because I drew a custom shape, search, edit, which just means changing the shape, or save. This is a really good way to start some farming and marketing areas. Let's search. There are all of my off-market distressed properties within the box that I selected. Okay. Also, if we have clients, we're working with buyers, they're interested in drive time and distance, commuting and length. Drive time. I can select drive time and put in my property address, or to save time like I'm going to do right now, I'm going to plunk down my dot. Here comes a pretty crazy looking shape. This is 10, 15 time window on where we can go in those amount of time. So how does this become a savable search to us in a searchable area? Now I'm trying to go too fast. We click. There I've highlighted the 15-minute drive time window, and now I can search or I can save. And maybe this becomes Johnson Family Buyer Search. And every time I go out looking for these folks, if drive time was an issue, I'm always going to be within that window. Again, I'm going to hit search. There, everybody, because we started looking at distressed properties, here they all are within our drive time window. So let's reset. Distance is going to do exactly the same thing, only it's going to have a mileage radius. We can have a starting property address. It's 3, 5, and 10. We can set here, highlight, search, and save. Heat maps, one of the other things that I think are cool. Out of the bottom, we have heat maps. We saw some of them in our report. There's about 10 of them to select from. You simply select one that you're interested in. And you are going to get a heat map showing you information in that area. Now, if I can get that back, there it is. The darker the blue on this map, the more positive the trend. The darker the red, the more. And we can look at lots and lots of information, guys. You can layer your tools over the top of the heat maps, and you can take a look at a lot of information that folks are not able to see otherwise. They are right here, so pretty cool. Let's do year built. That's always a fun one. There's year built. The darker, the lighter, the older. So pretty neat. I like the heat maps. All right. We did our mapping tools. Market activity report from the home page. Very, very, very easy. We select market activity. Market activity for us is going to let us review the latest changes within the market. So again, I'm plugging in a zip code. 55376. I want to see the changes in my market over the last 30 days. I want to see new listings, newly distressed, and recently sold. I don't really care about the pendings for this report. Uncheck. And I search to see all of the recent changes. If you change your mind, guys, once you get here and you want to see pending or you want to extend the time frame, just do that right here and hit apply. I've got 69 properties that I can review in all of those market categories that had changes within the last 30 days. I want to create my report. Market activity is going to be selected here for me. I'm going to go through my more details and make sure that everything that I want to include is there. I can go. This is an excellent report also for open houses. It's an excellent report for farming groups, marketing groups, guys. It's really great. It'll show up here, market 2006, and it will go through, as I have selected here, the top 20 or the newest 20 in each section. Okay? Pretty cool for open house or for investors too. Our neighborhood report. Probably one of my favorites. Neighborhood report, again from the home page. We're going to select neighborhoods. Neighborhoods. We're going to put in a zip code. You certainly can put in a suburb, a smaller subdivision. You can try lots of different things for neighborhoods. Like I said, I'm working a little bit more rural area, so this is how this one is going to work. And I hit search. Okay, so I opened up a summary tab here, everyone. This summary tab is going to highlight all of 55376. I also have housing, people, economy, and quality of life. So not necessarily the hardcore market stats, but more of the feel-good, the demographics of living here. And we're going to look at this report here very quickly. This is going to talk about population, income, occupational categories, walkability scores, all kinds of information. Neighborhood report here. That's what we'll select. We'll do our more details. We'll run to the bottom. And we will look at neighborhood report. Oops. There's our outline. Here we have our neighborhood stats. So price changes month to month, year to date, ownership versus rental. Sometimes you'll even get permits, like building permits, and you can see that kind of stuff as well. We'll get some market statistics. Here you're going to get people, so population, education, statistics of kids within the area. Economic stats, occupational categories. Quality of life, so elevation, rainfall, snowfall, commute time, how people get to work, average temperatures, and the walkability scores to amenities, so the more necessary stuff, grocery stores, pharmacies, that, and leisure. And that's the neighborhood report. Phil, good question. Can you isolate a specific subdivision when generating reports? Try it. Type it in. If you can't, Phil, you can always draw the boxes around those areas on the map and try to generate information that way. But if you're going to go pull neighborhoods, try to type in the subdivision name. If it's a little bit larger subdivision or like the name of a neighborhood and it's established, you should be able to do it. I know that there's lots of those little fun neighborhoods and boroughs and that kind of stuff. When you leave, you know, the metropolitan areas, you should be able to pull that information. Good question. The last one, here we go. The trade area report. The only version of commercial that we have in the top 10. So pretty cool. To get to the commercial side of RPR. And guys, while I'm showing you this last one, please type in your questions, comments, whatever, and we will be done. Hit commercial on the top here. If you go to the commercial side, it will bring you back to residential by clicking here as well. We go to commercial. We want to run a commercial trade area report. We're going to go to reports on this one. And from reports, we can do commercial trade area. It's a simple selection, and you can type in the area that you're interested in here. This can be great for farming areas, guys. If you work with entrepreneurs, you know, folks that are trying to start businesses, they work from home, lots of fun stuff is going to come out of this. I've already pulled this report, of course, and so I'm going to pull that up. And here's our commercial trade area report. We have the outline of the area, Maple Grove, Minnesota, just west of Minneapolis. This is going to talk to us now. It's commercial, so we're going to look at consumers. We're going to look at average household here, median household income, age, population, and the first and most dominant segment of this area are the soccer moms. And that is true. Here we have all of the statistics based on group. We have the description of those moms. We get into number 2, the boom with, but as number 2. The professionals. The home improvement segment. And there are some areas that are seeing a vast amount of home improvement and even commercial improvement. The savvy suburbs, which also Maple Grove, just west of Minneapolis. And then we'll get into population, density, population changes, average household size. Lots and lots of stats for those entrepreneurs and for people out there that are, you know, interested in how the commercial activity in this area is going. Even information on tweens. Who knew that would ever be a group? Married, unmarried, widowed, divorced, income, unemployment rate, employment count by industry. So how many folks are employed in various occupations? Education. And my favorite part of this, the best, in Maple Grove, what are the businesses that they'd like to see more of? Because there hardly is any. Not enough, and of course, too many. And that's the last page. Guys, thank you so much for everything. I appreciate your time. This is a lot of information to get through, so I appreciate the few extra minutes that I stole from you. It is a pleasure for me to teach for this group. You guys are great. Enjoy your spring market. Let me know if there's anything that I can do for you as well. Use your contacts here that are setting these meetings up for you, and if they need me, they can certainly reach me. So thank you again. I will hang on here for a few minutes for questions. Other than that, enjoy your weekend, enjoy your week. Thanks.